Our SEC Media Days coverage continues with a look at Tennessee's season in 2022. The Vols finished with an 11-2 record, the most wins the program has seen since 2001. One of those wins came against Alabama. Yep, the Vols got to light up the cigars in Neyland Stadium. They also made their first appearance in a New Year's Six bowl game since 2004, where they beat Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and Tennessee leading the FBS and setting several program records in total offense and scoring offense. For now, more on the Vols. Let's bring in Patrick Brown of Go Vols 247. Thanks for joining us in studio here in Nashville today. Well, we just saw Tennessee's offense absolutely electric last season. They had the upset wins. They ranked number 1 in the college football playoff rankings at one point. So how the heck does Josh Heupel follow up what was arguably one of the best seasons in school history?
Yeah, Grace, it's going to be a challenge for Tennessee. You know that they've got some stars to replace on offense. Obviously, everybody remembers Hendon Hooker and the way he played. Jalen Hyatt had a breakout season, won the Biletnikoff Award as the top receiver in college football. And they've got a couple of important players to replace on the offensive line and defensive line as well. A couple of All-ACC guys in Darnell Wright and Byron Young. So it's going to be a tall task, but this is a roster that's got a lot of newcomers that are really talented, this coaching staff thinks, but it's also a roster with a lot of returning starters, a lot of experience, a lot of guys back that can make things happen and make sure Tennessee doesn't really have a drop-off.
Yeah, 13 starters returning, but one guy they'll have to replace, as you mentioned, is Hendon Hooker, who was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the nation last year. Now Joe Milton looks to be the guy to fill those shoes. 9 career starts for him, 4 of those with Tennessee. What do you expect to see from Milton?
Yeah, this has been a long journey for Joe Milton. This is going to be his 6th season in college football. This is really his 3rd different shot at trying to be a starting quarterback for a big-time program. He started his career at Michigan, started 5 games there, I think in 2020 during the COVID season. Came to Tennessee, won the starting job over Hendon Hooker going into the 2021 season. The national narrative is kind of that he was benched after both those jobs, but he would tell you that he had injuries both of those seasons. He had to undergo thumb surgery after his season at Michigan. He tore ligaments in his ankle in that Pittsburgh game. That was his last start at Tennessee, but he could have gone somewhere after that 2021 season. Instead, he stuck it out, decided to become really good friends and roommates with Hendon Hooker. They had a really good, unique relationship, and Milton has just really kind of grown under this staff with Josh Heupel, with Joey Halzle. They worked on some fundamental things with them, and he stayed ready. And when he got his chance late at the end of last season, after Hooker tore his ACL against South Carolina, stepped in, led Tennessee to the win against Vanderbilt to close the regular season. They went to the Orange Bowl. He earns MVP honors there with 251 yards, 3 touchdown passes in that game. There was always a lot of confidence, I think, inside the program in what he could do if he got an opportunity. And now this is his time. This is his chance in the spotlight. I think he's done a good job of being a leader, kind of continuing and building upon what he's done in the past. He's really comfortable in his own skin. I think he knows the staff better. I think he knows players around him a lot better than 2 years ago when he got his first crack at being Tennessee's starter. We obviously know about the arm strength. He can throw the ball a mile, but the coaches have really worked on trying to kind of harnessing him and harnessing that rocket launcher attached to his arm to be able to throw the intermediate passes, work the middle of the field, make good decisions, all these things. And the way that Tennessee plays offense, really fast, up tempo, a lot of plays per game, spread the field. And so he's really comfortable, I think, in the role. They know what he can do, and I think there's a lot of expectations, a lot of high expectations, I have to say, inside the program about what Milton can do and how many games they can win with him at quarterback.
Yeah, Joe Milton, in those 4 starts with Tennessee, has a perfect 12-0 touchdown to interception ratio. Not a sustainable stat line, but we'll see how close he can come to it. Now, lurking behind him on the depth chart is Nico Maliava, rated a perfect 100 by 24/7 Sports, and he's not the only stud in this incoming freshman class that was a top 10 recruiting class in the 2023 cycle. Which freshman do you think will make an immediate impact this year?
Well, guys, you can't really talk about Tennessee's freshman class without talking about Nico. He's the guy that Tennessee fans love. He's the 5-star, was the number 2 ranked player in the class according to 24/7 Sports. He's got everything that you would want in a quarterback, and there's been a lot of good early feedback on how he's been just as a player, willing to learn, maturity. He gets to campus in December for Orange Bowl practices, and they tell him to go run the scout team offense for the Clemson game. He jumps right in and does that. He's maybe a little bit more low key than maybe his 5-star his persona might suggest outwardly, but this is Joe Milton's team, so Nico might have to wait his turn, but he's also one snap away, so he's going to have to stay ready. But I think a couple of guys for Tennessee that might get a chance to play sooner as freshmen. I'll start with Arian Carter, the linebacker from down the road in Smyrna. He was a guy that was a running back most of his high school career, plays linebacker as a senior, just blew up. His recruitment took off. It turned into an Alabama-Tennessee battle. That battle went down to the wire, kind of back and forth. Tennessee ended up pulling it out in the 11th hour. He enrolls early, go back to the second spring practice. We're out there, and he's partnering with the first team defense and picks off Joe Milton, who, Grace, you just mentioned, hasn't thrown an interception in a real game, and then here's this freshman picking him off in his second collegiate practice. So that tells you a little bit about what he can do. And then another guy from this area is Caleb Herring, who some people thought maybe early on he might be a developmental guy. He's a little bit undersized, but he comes in winter workouts and puts on like 20 pounds in like 3 weeks. And that physical growth has continued over the course of this offseason, where he really passes the eye test and looks the part of a maybe a future big-time SEC pass rusher. Tennessee's got to replace Byron Young, as I mentioned earlier. Led them in sacks last season, was their best pass rusher. There's going to be some young guys that are going to get a chance there with Joshua Josephs, James Pierce Jr. But Herring, I think, is another guy that can get in that mix and really help Tennessee in that pass rush area to get after the quarterback and affect the quarterback on defense.
Yeah, it definitely helps that they enrolled early as well, going through spring practices, kind of to shorten the learning curve. But for all of the hype around that incoming freshman class, this transfer portal class, there's only 8 guys in it. But Josh Heupel is looking for someone to replace the speedy wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. It looks like transfer Dante Thornton from Oregon could be the guy. What have you seen from him so far? Yeah,
Grace, this is a transfer class that doesn't have a lot of sizzle, I would say, but there's a lot of substance to it. And I think Tennessee's going to get some important contributors to this season from this group. And there's a lot of experienced 5th, 6th-year guys that have played a lot of football. But maybe the most exciting guy is probably Thornton. We listened to Joey Halsey, offensive coordinator, talk back in February, and he's talking about using Thornton sort of in the role that they had Jalen Hyatt in. When you hear that your ears kind of perk up, because that tells you what they think of him. He's 6'5", could run, got really great top end speed. They're planning on using him in the slot and kind of moving him around the offense, creating mismatches with him, trying to get his speed in the open field, down the field, over the middle of the field, kind of use him the way that they did Hyatt. And they're really excited about him. Josh Heupel was on SEC Nation here the other night talking him up and said a lot of things publicly that we've heard about Thornton privately. So of this newcomer, of this portal class, he's probably the guy that's maybe most exciting, but there's some other guys that are gonna help Tennessee this season as well.
All right, lots to look forward to on Rocky Top. Thanks, Patrick, for joining us and sharing your expertise with us. And for more on the Vols from Patrick and the entire staff, check out GoVols247.com for the best Tennessee coverage throughout SEC Media Days and Fall Camp as we get closer to 2023 kickoff.